Hello everyone! It is Sunday night and we are coming to you live from Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida to talk to you about all of this week's indie and small press new releases. As always, I'm your host Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to wind down your weekend with you. And of course, if we're going to wind down our weekend, we are going to have a wine, which we didn't last week, so I'm so excited to be able to say that again. This week we are drinking Alamos, which is a Argentinian malbec. It's supposed to be dark cherry and blackberry flavors, which I'm starting to think are some of my favorite flavors to experience in wines. The more we see those, the better. I'm starting to get that that's like the flavor blend that I really like other than spices. But I'm excited because Malbecs is another one of those wines that you usually can't go wrong with. So we're going to find out if I'm wrong when I say that. It's definitely got that black cherry flavor. And that's just smooth. That you almost can't even tell that you're drinking wine. Like for me. I don't know about you. Was it like hard for you?
I would say that this is an advanced wine that I wouldn't like if I didn't like wine.
Oh, it's not sweet, but I don't feel like it's like not abrasive to me.
Yeah, it's really, really rich, and it almost has a chocolate finish to it. Like I taste chocolate on it. I know you can't have chocolate, so you have no chocolate.
Yeah.
But it tastes like really chocolatey, like almost like dark chocolate.
Oh yeah, I've definitely never had dark chocolate. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good note. Yeah, but it's not abrasive, I guess is what I meant by the fact that it's like something that's easy for wine. Like, I definitely think it's complex flavor, but I don't think, the thing I always hear people complain about that don't drink wine is that it's like hurts almost, and this doesn't really have like the wine burn, but it also doesn't have like the sugar flavor, which I know most new wine drinkers are always like lean towards the sweet side. As somebody who doesn't like sweet things, I think this is like, I'm like, this is great to me because it's not sweet and it's not too spicy, and it's not something that's gonna like kick back on you, so it's kind of a nice thing. They say it's excellent with grilled meats and vegetables, which you don't hear wines say to pair them with vegetables a lot. So I kind of like that they're like, hey, this one's good for like veggie dishes, which I could definitely see like some like grilled zucchini or some grilled squash. Like grilled squash going with this would be really, really good. That's like an excellent pairing flavor. Yeah, very fall. That's like, I would put this as a fall flavor, the fruits that, or the vegetables that I would put in it, I would say like with it would go with that. But yeah, I feel like this is very fall-esque in its flavor palette. It's too heavy for summer.
I would say Valentine's Day with a cheesecake.
Valentine's Day with the cheesecake would be good too. I think cheesecake. I also think fall because I want pumpkin cheesecake and it's only available in the fall. So I'm like, yes, that works too. But yeah, this is definitely a great cheesecake wine. Absolutely. But also you picked another cool season. So it's like the same thing. Like, doesn't really go with like the hot summer day kind of wine. It's not as light as all that. But we're going to be drinking it on this hot summer day because we're inside and we don't know that it's summer or hot outside. To go over all the things that have happened at Bat City recently and things that are coming up. This last week, we just had our Story Spelunkers meeting yesterday for our kids' book club. It was really awesome. We got to read Spider-Man Homeroom Heroes, which is based on the Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah, it just came out this week, which I did not grab one. But it just came out this week, and it's based on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. So we currently have 2 kids Spider-Man comics that are going to be quarterly. One is Spidey and His Amazing Friends, based on that cartoon for your really young readers, and then Spider-Man, like the Homeroom Heroes, which is based on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, which is good for your middle grade readers. And it's actually in single issues coming out quarterly, which is so great because I have so many little bitties and middle grade readers who are like, I want to get a comic too. Like, I don't want a graphic novel. I want to feel like I actually got a comic, and now there's something that's Spidey related that they can pick up again, which is really great since we haven't had the Marvel Action line in so long. So thanks, Marvel, for bringing those back. So we had Stories Spelunkers. We got to do that. Read Spider-Man Homeroom Heroes, and the first story in that is all about career days. So we got to have some really fun activities where we got to draw careers out of a hat and make up comics about those careers, which was really cool to do. And then our upcoming this week, we've got a really fun, exciting week for you, because this Thursday at 7 is Fresh Start Book Club, which is our $1 book club. We pick one title. We read the first issue and only the first issue, and you get it for $1. And so this month we are reading Adventure Man. And this is just kind of the start of that series. This is not like the full, like, oversized first issue. It's kind of like the first story that was in there, but it's gonna be fun to jump into this and see this whole awesome experience and get a little modern pulp action going on. That is, again, this Thursday, the 12th at 7 p.m. So come check that out. This is our adult book club, not our kids book club. So, come if you're an adult, I should say. And then this Saturday, we are going to, the 14th at 3 p.m., we will be having a story time with Santiago. So come out Saturday at 3 p.m., bring the kiddos, and meet in the kids section where Santiago is going to be doing story time, and then there will be crafts that follow immediately afterwards in the classroom, so you can come hang out and have fun with us this week. It's going to be great. But before any of that can happen, we've got to get through all of this week's comics that just came out. So, oh yes, I totally forgot. All the rain of this week, I forgot that launched already. So yeah, this week we got to start curate a display at the Anna Marie Island Branch Library for the Manatee Public Library System. So if you're local, you should head out to the library anytime in the month of September, because you can actually see our really awesome display mats put together, which is kind of just focusing on like the historical moments of comics. There's comic strips that are more than 100 years old on display. There's some really cool facsimiles and some information about those big books. There are some original art pages from Archie Digest, and you can kind of see the process pieces of that. So that is going to be on display at the Island Branch Library all month long for celebrating National Comic Book Day. So make sure you go out there and see that. And thank you to the Island Branch Library for having us for that, which is going to be great. I'm so excited about it. And that said, don't forget that local comic shop day is this month as well. It is September 28th. Which we will also be celebrating our Bad-iversary that same day. So there's going to be a big sale, lots of activities. There's going to be some artists and vendors out here. You're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be 11 to 4 on the 28th. We are also probably going to just put all of our Batman Day activities on that day as well. So if you're looking forward to Batman Day, we will have probably just move all of that to local comic shop day, Bad-iversary day, and just have one big blowout celebration. So keep that in mind. But we'll let you know for sure if any of that changes. All right, so now we're going to talk about this week's comics, and we're going to kick it off with one of my favorite books on the shelf, which is Ranger Academy issue 10 from Boom Studios. I say this every time this book comes out. I am not really a Power Rangers fan. It was, we all saw the movie with Ivan Ooze and all of that, but it wasn't one of those that really like stuck with me as I grew into adulthood. But I am kind of obsessed with every character in this book and the story of it. It is honestly and truthfully a perfect young adult novel in every capacity. But this is all about a young girl who lives on an abandoned moon with just her dad. There's like no other humans there. Early on in the story, very first issue, two rangers who go to Ranger Academy crash land on the moon, and they discover these people are living there. And they end up going back to Ranger Academy with a stowaway in their midst, which is the young girl from the moon. And she ends up going to Ranger Academy. She has all kinds of adventures. She finds out, though, that there is a big mystery around what happens to Green Rangers, that they have been ousted from the Ranger system and society because of Dark Spectre and something that happened. And she is determined to figure out exactly what that was and why it is that her father is somebody who has been a ranger but has been hiding it from her. her whole life. And so she is going to learn so much about her family. And in this issue, we actually get to finally learn the truth behind so much of the mysteries and the lies that have been coming her way over the course of this series so far. And it was so good. It was all of the reveals that you didn't know were coming, and all of the reveals that you did blended together so perfectly that, again, it just makes such a great use of everything. Like, it uses all the young adult novel tropes, but then also like twists them and turns them with some really exciting like Power Rangers lore and comic stories. So if you haven't checked it out yet, there is a trade paperback for the first arc of the story, and you should definitely jump into it. We've got Public Domain issue 8 from Image Comics and Chip Zdarsky completely on this book. This is Chip Zdarsky kind of giving us his insight into the world of comics and comic creation. This is the story of a man who is essentially the Jack Kirby to another man's Stan Lee. They created a character called Domain. They thought that he had lost the rights forever. He'd always been really sad about it, and his kids, who are now in their 30s, have figured out that he actually did own the rights. And so they put it all together and they decided to create their own version of the story, building their own comic company. And so now they're all trying to work together. And what's great about this is Chad is disappointed that they want to modernize everything. They're disappointed that, they have to actually do the work. But we've got one son who's an artist, one son who's a writer working on the story, as well as the former assistant of the Stan Lee-esque character. And so they are all working, and this issue is great because they realize they need to hire a colorist and a letterer. And so they have interviews for just that. And it is so funny to see not only just kind of how things go down, but also how Chip Zdarsky relays that information to us, because it is absolutely hysterical and yet so true to the stories that you hear from creators all the time. Absolutely fantastic, as with everything Chip does. Gives you a fun little insight into what's going on in that man's mind all the time. We've got Holy Roller issue 8 from Image Comics and the Giant Generator imprint, which is Rick Remender's line, but this is actually Andy Samberg writing with Rick Remender. And when I say Andy Samberg, I do mean Saturday Night Live, Lonely Island, Andy Samberg. I just lost that page, so I was going to show you. This is all about a guy who hated growing up in the town that he did because his dad was like the local amateur bowler, and he was kind of the town loser, and he ends up moving away and going to into like the Peace Corps and like Greenpeace, and getting off like out of there and doing all kinds of weird, ridiculous things. And in the first issue, he finds out that his father is dying, and so he needs to go home and be with him. And when he gets home, he finds out that there is everything has changed, that there is a group of people who have come together who are trying to get rid of every minority group in town, and they are doing it as swiftly and sometimes violently as possible, and he is determined to not let that happen. So he becomes a vigilante using the only thing that he's familiar with, which is his dad's old bowling balls, and he has been teaming up with different people to take this group down. And we are at the height of this now, learning what these bad guys' actual mission and intent is, and whether or not he's going to be able to stop it. And I don't want to show you too much from the end of this because there is only one issue left, so the back half of this will totally spoil too much of the story. But honestly, if you start, I'm going to hold this back up while I'm still talking about it. Honestly, if you start reading this, issue 1 is a little more like Andy trying to be funny, making jokes. Issue 2 kind of finds its footing. So if you're like, oh, I don't really know, it was too like jokey for me, that kind of moves away, and the real like point of the story and depth of the story comes out in issue 2. So don't get turned off by it, and also know that if you're just coming into it because you want Andy Samberg to tell jokes, that it does carry a little of that with it, but for the most part, it actually comes like deeper into a true story. We've got Tales of the Bazaar, issue 8 from Drin Productions. So far, Tales of the Bazaar has had a like anthology feel, which it still is, but it's had a sorceress who was telling us the story of some people that she was kind of gathering power from. We didn't see our sorceress at the beginning of this one, but we still get this horror anthology. And the first story is all about a woman who something bad happens to her sister, and she decides that she is going to take matters into her own hands, and kind of deal with that. And I don't want to tell you how, so I'm going to skip it. And then I can show you more of the second story. The second story is all about a guy who falls in love with this woman, and she has no knowledge of him at all, and he begins stalking her. And we kind of see how that stalking just plays out over the weeks and weeks, and the kind of the fear the woman has when she is confronted by him, and how that plays out for them is fitting only of a horror anthology called Tales of the Bizarre. So if you're looking, there's only a few stories in it. They both get a little bit more space than when the anthologies have 3 to 5 stories in them. But if you're just looking for another great horror anthology, this is actually probably the strongest issue of this anthology so far. Uncanny Valley, issue 5 from Boom Studios and our friend Tony Fleece. I love this book so much. It's so much fun. For all of you fans of Roger Rabbit, you should absolutely be reading this one. And as always, this is the last copy of this issue that I have, because there's so many of you that are reading it. But this is about a young boy who is suddenly followed home from school by some very cartoon-esque looking crows, only to find out that he is the half cartoon. He is from a realm of cartoon characters, and they are all after him because they need this magical power that he is said to contain. And he doesn't know what that power is. He doesn't know why they're after him. He has no idea that this world even exists. And now in this issue, he has come face to face with the one that is trying to capture him. And he starts to make some big moves of his own after being kind of the small child who was content to not know what was happening. He finally is like, look, I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to protect my family in a way that they've obviously always been protecting me. And he leaves us on some giant and quite literal cliffhangers at the end of this issue. So I'm not, again, going to show you much of that issue backside, but if you haven't been reading this, absolutely grab an issue 1, check it out. It's just so much fun, and it's, again, perfect for fans of Roger Rabbit or Page Master or any of those where you go into that alternate world that you can kind of realize that you're supposed to be a part of. Cartoon worlds, yes. All right, we've got Rook Exodus, issue 5 from Image and Ghost Machine. This has been probably the most popular of the Jeff Johns Ghost Machine titles that have been coming out, and it's so easy to see why. This is possibly the Jason Fabok art is why people have been loving it. But this is all about humanity destroys Earth, and corporations end up building another planet that they are okay, it's gonna have everything, it's gonna be perfect, and they get these wardens to go who are essentially going to be the ones who help the animals survive and control them, and they get these helmets that let them speak to the animals. Well, that all happened years and years ago, and now here we are on this planet, and guess what? Humans have messed it up too. Shocker, I know. You can't believe that we would destroy 2 planets back to back. Never. But we did. And so now he is our main guy who controls the crows, is trying to get off of this planet as much and quickly as possible. But that's not going to be something that he is able to do. Everything just keeps going wrong, and he is having to fight against the people who have gone rogue, essentially, and are trying to destroy this planet and take it for themselves in all of the worst ways. And in this issue, he actually has kind of a big wake-up call, because he's always been fighting against his animals. He's always felt like you can't control birds and that crows will do what they want to, and he finally has the understanding that that's not necessarily wrong, but it's also not necessarily true, and he needs to learn to understand fight or flight, and that for birds, sometimes those are the same things, and he's just got to embrace that in a whole new way. Really great issue, and honestly, like I said, it's definitely been the fan favorite for Ghost Machine, and it's so easy to see why. We've got Dawn Runner, issue 5 from Dark Horse, and this is the wrap-up of Dawn Runner. And this is such a crazy off-the-wall story in so many ways. But basically, there is an alien invasion of giant aliens who come and just kind of mess everything up, and we end up building walls around them and try to keep like our city safe, and we invent giant mech robots to go in and fight them. And we've been doing this for years now, and there's, you know, like television where you can watch the robots, like the mech people go in and fight and all this. We have one girl who's absolutely fantastic at it, and she's kind of doing it to keep the medical help that she needs to keep her daughter safe, who is now dying of the disease from the aliens that invaded. And so she's got, you know, this vendetta against them, but she also like kind of needs the job, and she's also like the best fighter. Well, over the course of the time that she's been going in this new mech that they've created that's almost like sentient, she's actually found herself connected to the mind of somebody who has already lived and died through this war. And so she has had to reconcile with him and his experiences and how they cross with hers. And the way they do that is kind of how we wrap this whole story in as we go. But just the monsters and the design for everything, like of these aliens and these giant mechs and all kinds of stuff, is just so beautiful in this book. So if you're a fan of kaiju and more of like the what is going to happen like from those alien like mixtures, this is something that you should definitely check out. I would say more Pacific Rim than I would say Godzilla, though, because it does focus on the mech side. We've got issue 5 of the Infernals from Image Comics and the wrap up of this title as well. This is all about the Antichrist and essentially a man who is the son of the devil, who is kind of also the godfather essentially for his kids and his family. And he has been running this world and kind of the creator of all of this evil for a while, and now he is dying and he must come to terms with that. And so he's been prepping his 3 children to kind of take his place. Who's going to take over as the Antichrist? How are they going to lead? What's going to happen? And instead of that, you know, smooth transition that he thinks is going to happen, he actually ends up in this issue going to the afterlife and having to sit down with Satan while his kids are being attacked by all of the underworld, a mutiny at foot, and he is kind of having to negotiate the experience that they're going to have while they're also having to learn to fight their own battles. Super cool concept Ryan Parrott brought to us with this story, and it's really cool to see how it actually played out in the end. Not exactly where I thought that this story would go when it first started, and so if you didn't pick it up, all 5 issues are out now. It's definitely a cool story to lead you into spooky season, honestly, because you are going to just, like, everybody in here, like, you've got, like, Baphomet, you've got Lilith, you've got Lucifer, you've got the Antichrist, you've got these kids with these dark powers. So it's a really cool Godfather retelling, essentially, with all of that going on. We've got Helen of Windhorn issue 4 from Dark Horse, and one of a couple of Tom King things going on right now. This is your same team that brought you Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and if you haven't checked out Helen of Windhorn yet, dear God, just do yourself a favor and do just that. This is about Helen, who is a girl in her 20s who has been kind of like off on adventures with her father, and before issue 1 even happens, her father passes away, and a governess comes to get her on behalf of her grandfather and bring her back to the family home that she's never been to before, only to find out that the adventurous worlds that her dad was creating in the books that he was writing may in fact have actually been something of truth that she never knew existed. Like, we might have a whole nother world. And so we get to see yet another portal fantasy, which is really starting to become a very popular thing in comics right now. Yes, portal fantasy, which is like Wizard of Oz, the Uncanny Valley you were talking about earlier, even Harry Potter, anywhere you go, Alice in Wonderland, any of those kinds of stories where you're transported to another world through something is a portal fantasy. And so this is all about this girl and her journey through all of that, and just kind of seeking that family approval from her grandfather, from her governess, from these monsters, creatures, and gods and that she encounters, and just trying to find her place in this giant world that her father she thought created, but maybe just experienced as a child. And as Helen continues to kind of level up her experiences and her own powers within that, human-based powers that they are, she also finds herself like never actually able to become what it is that she feels like she needs to be just to be a part of the family. Beautiful story, just exactly the kind of stuff that you expect from Tom King, and Bill Quest-Evely's art is so detailed and insane. It's crazy. We've got the Valiant issue 4 from Valiant Comics and Alien Books, and this is all a part of our revitalization, or as they call it, the resurgence of Valiant Comics. We've had the Valiant universe kind of be on hold as they've gone back and forth over the years with how they were distributed and where they were, published by and stuff. So this is them saying, hey, we're back and here are all your favorite characters. And this, the Valiants, is actually kind of your Avengers book to the Valiant universe. We have been watching as these mysterious sinkholes have been opening up around the world, and all of the different heroes from the Valiant universe have been out there trying to do their part in different places and figure out what's going on. And one of them is finally given kind of insight into everything that's happened by being transported to the future, where she meets Rye and Exo Man-of-War and all kinds of people who are like, hey, we're here to help with whatever this problem is. We see, Archer and Armstrong have made appearances in here. Who else? There's a whole list at the front. We see a little bit of Faith in here. We have oh my gosh, like there's just this massive thing, the Geomancers and Eternus and all kinds of, like, if there is a character that has ever appeared in a Valiant book, you're probably going to get a little teaser of them. We have not seen Shadow Man in this book, but we have heard mention of him, and he is actually coming very, very soon. But Valiant fans, this is definitely building your world back for you, and these stories have been very exciting. As like somebody who didn't read Valiant, this has been really like the best way to get to know like every single Valiant character, and then kind of like jump into their own books that are coming out of it and spinning out. And there is a checklist at the back to tell you all of the books that are leading up to this full resurgence of the Valiant universe. So if you're like, I think I do want to try Valiant for the first time, or oh man, I haven't heard those names in forever, like I want to know what's going on, this is absolutely the way to do it, and just kind of get into that. So give it a go. We've got Scarlet issue 4 from Image, Skybound, and our Inner John universe. This is Kelly Thompson writing this, and it's seriously, I keep saying this is like if they would have given Kelly another arc on Black Widow, this would be what we would have seen. Because it is so similar to her spy writing for Natasha. But this is about Scarlet from the G.I. Joe universe, who, has been a government operative for forever, and she is kind of like still doing that, but she's determined to find her sister in arms, Jade, who went undercover, and she is like, I have to go find her. And so Scarlet decides she's going to go undercover and see if she's able to save Jade from everything that she is going through. And in order to do that, Scarlet must prove her loyalty by going on a mission that Storm Shadow requires of her. And so she goes on this mission, which is extremely dangerous and essentially a suicide mission. And they're like, if you make it out, then we know you're talented enough. And if you don't make it out, we didn't lose anything. And also, if you don't try it, we know that you're not really in it for the long haul. And thankfully for Scarlet, she's able to do that mission with Jade. And so they're able to have just a couple of moments of talking about, are these the good guys? Are they the bad guys? Like, and she's like, well, they're not Cobra, so they could be swayed either way. Maybe like this is one of our chances to like convince these people that Cobra isn't who they want to align themselves with, and also to keep big, massive weapons out of the hands of Cobra. And Scarlet's like, I don't even know what Cobra is. And so we're starting to put all those pieces together, leading, of course, towards the new G.I. Joe series itself coming our way soon. All right, my boy Kanto is back with Kanto, A Place Like Home, issue 4. This is from Dark Horse, and this is our final volume of Kanto, and I hate saying that every time. It just makes me sad. But if you don't know Kanto, do yourself a favor and buy every single volume at one time, because Kanto is the most adorable thing you will ever see in your life. But he is a little soldier who, a little knight kind of guy, whose heart, as well as all of the hearts of his people, have been stolen by an evil sorcerer and replaced with clocks. And they are forced to work in enslavement until their clock runs out. Kanto, in the very beginning, is able to steal the heart of the sorcerer, essentially, to get back hearts for himself and some of his friends. And they have been trying to battle to defeat the sorcerer, win their freedom, and get all of their hearts back for the last 4 volumes. And Kanto, who has always loved the stories and adventures of knights that he's heard over time, is determined to be the one to bring everything back for his friends. And now, like I said, we are in our epic battle. We are finally going to come face to face with the sorcerer, and we are going to figure out if there's any humanity left in him, and if Kanto can save everybody before they don't make it. So many of our friends have fallen in this battle, and I hope that that some of them make it out, and I really hope that Kanto makes it out, because I feel like he's going to sacrifice himself in some way, and I'm going to cry. So don't do that to me, guys. It's so good, though. David Brewer, Drew Zucker, they have been building this beautiful book for years now, and I absolutely adore it. All right, we've got Dungeons and Dimwits, issue 3 from Drin Productions. This is all about a group of kids who are playing essentially Dungeons and Dragons, and they end up sucked into their game. And unfortunately for them, within that game, the sorceress that they've created kind of gains her own power. And so she's not only gotten them stuck there, but now she can create her own worlds and her own creatures. And they don't really know how they're going to get out. And so they go to the one person that the DM thinks is going to help them, only to find out that they are not, because there is some history that the dungeon master had written into the story that makes them not want to be helpful at all. And so they have to fight against these monsters to try to save themselves. And the monster is a cute little Pokemon looking thing that spits fire and also can like double itself. And they're like, how are we going to do this? We have no weapons. And so they have to figure out how to solve it. Essentially living live action Dungeons and Dragons, and every time, of course, that they think they've got a way out and are going to get home, some new twist and turn happens to just stop them from what they're doing. And so are these people going to make it out, or are they just going to make fools of themselves on every other page? You're going to find out when you dive into Dungeons and Dimwits. All right, I'm going to take a drink of this wine really fast. We are drinking, again, Alamos. It's from Mendoza, Argentina, which is up the foothill of the Andes Mountains, which is cool. Again, I haven't done the research. We were talking about this. Like, we were like, I wonder if, like, malbecs are kind of, like, more of an Argentinian style of wine. I've never actually looked to see where they come from and if there's, like, any consistency, because so many of the different kinds of wine, are named for where they come from. So I like to say, like, oh, I taste that chocolate now, but I have no idea what chocolate really, truly tastes like. I only know what, like, fake chocolate tastes like, so I'm like, that doesn't taste like fake chocolate at all. All right. So we have up next The Theme of Thieves, issue 3, and this is from Comicsburg, and I am going to tell you right now, this issue has, like, a big trigger warning, especially, like, with things going on this week. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to show you any of those pages, but I am going to kind of talk to you about the overall story. And so I have to find a page that, okay. So this is all about, if you haven't read Theme of Thieves yet, this is all about 2 kids essentially that are in high school, and they both kind of have different experiences with what's called the evanescence, and that is when people just completely disappear off the face of the planet, and they both kind of lost their moms to this, and they're both handling it in very, very different ways. One of them is this girl who has absolutely been determined to figure out what is going on and why it's happening. And she's been stalking like the appearances of this man in a red suit who she keeps seeing in her dreams. And she feels like she sees, like when she looks up the evanescent stuff. And so she has been trying to figure out if he's real or not. And after certain events in this book that I'm not actually going to name this week, after the events in this book, she actually is able to see him for the first time. And she's like, oh my gosh, I think this person is real. What's going on? And so we get to see him as well. And we kind of get to see a little bit more of who he is as a character. Because one of the things is that he has been very much, I'm just going to hold this. He has been very much over the course of the series, like somebody that we think we know who he is, because in the first issue, they kind of gave us like the backstory of who this man could possibly be, but we haven't really seen, like, is he a good guy, is he a bad guy, and is he actually responsible for these disappearances? We don't really know a lot of that, and so we kind of get our first little glimpses of the truth behind all of that in this issue. We also get, like I said, a really heavy story in this that has a lot of conversation regarding like what happens, you know, with bullying and things of that nature, and how those situations can play out, and the impact that they can have, and the ripple effects that they have throughout time, which I think is going to come into play with what like these evanescent situations are. But we still, again, we don't really know, and nobody can kind of piece it together. So we're going to see probably in the next issue, because of some things that happen at the end of this one, I think we're going to finally get a little bit more answers of like who this guy is and where all of this comes from. So check it out. We've got Hate Revisited, issue 3 from Fantagraphics. This is a series that came out back in like the 80s, 90s, that was kind of like became the Gen X manifesto, because it was all about these kids who were just kind of like apathetic and not really, you know, wanting to be a part of anything. They didn't want to be a part of politics. They didn't want to be a part of the things that their parents were making them do. They just wanted to sit around and like talk about the things that didn't really impact the world. And now we are bringing it back. So anything that's in black and white is supposed to take place back when those original issues came out. The color issues are supposed to be now, and now they're all in their 40s or even older, and they're realizing that some of the things that they were apathetic about in the past have kind of messed up a lot of the things that they're dealing with in their adult lives now. A lot of it is things that they're still like emotionally trying to be apathetic towards, and it's like, oh, we can't do that anymore. And in this issue, that comes in the form of a sister who was going to get married, and her fiance goes home to visit family and just never comes back. And she is looking for support from her family, and they realize, hey, all of those times that, you know, as an older brother, I was terrible to you and wasn't really there for you. Like, maybe that had an impact on how you deal with your relationships now, and why you feel like you don't have anybody to support you through this. And so they kind of have to come to terms with, hey, maybe everything you do or don't do actually plays a role into this, and maybe we should try a little harder to just be there for people and actually like participate in the human conversation that is life. Still really funny, still full of a lot of course, social commentary, especially with the climate of the politics now, and the Gen X people kind of being in that realm of, are we at the, like, we're kind of the turning point situation. And so it's very interesting to read, especially having Gen X older sibling. It's kind of funny to me. We've got Free Agents, issue 3 from Image Comics. This is a new Kurt Busiek superhero story, which I think doesn't get talked about enough, that like Kurt is writing more superhero stories again. And how long has it been since we've seen something that was especially independent like that? But this is about a group of people who are from another realm, another dimension, I guess I should say, and they have always been this like superhero team. Well, they kind of defeat their ultimate bad guy, and ends up like the war is not in this area, so they come over to Earth, and they're living a normal life. One of them is just enrolled in college and is kind of loving just being a regular college student. Some of them have gotten jobs. And then they suddenly get a message from their long, like, team coordinator who's like, hey, the war is back, the trouble's back, you've got to get back into action, get moving right now, like, you're on duty. And they don't all want to do that, and so they're kind of having this struggle point where some of them are like, yes, that's what we're meant for, we're soldiers, we're in battle, we're supposed to fight, and that's all we should do. And some of them are like, I don't want to do this, and I'm not going to. And so we're seeing a lot of mixed opinions in this issue. A couple of them do decide to go out into a battle, and they end up crossing hairs with somebody else who is known to be a superhero in the area, and they kind of tear up a lot of stuff and get into some dangerous situation that becomes dangerous not only for them but for civilians in the area. And there is some interjection from another party who is like, hey, if you're going to be in this area, I knew you were going to be a problem. Here you are, be in that problem, and I'm going to have to ask you to stop, and I'm going to have to take care of it. And who that is changes everything. And so this is one of those books where it's going to fly under your radar for a minute for certain people who are collecting an entire franchise of comics. But I will say, after this issue, it's gonna start showing up and popping up. So if you're wanting to read it because you want to get a Kurt Busiek superhero story for the first time in a while, I would say grab it soon, because once those fans realize this is connected to a bigger universe in some capacity, they might start snagging it up. Godzilla, Skate or Die, issue 3 from IDW. I mean, come on. Everything you need to know is in that title right there. This is about Godzilla and skateboarding, and possibly some people dying. We follow a group of teenagers who live in a world where kaiju just kind of attack all the time, and so instead of like storm sirens, they get kaiju sirens to let them know, move away from the area, you're in danger. But these kids had a plan because it is the anniversary of a very important day for them and they need to go to their skate park and they need to skate. The only problem is their skate park is right in the path of the kaiju fall, where this battle is taking place. And they're like, you know what? We've already skipped school. We've already gone this far. Let's just go for it. And so they are still absolutely adamantly determined to make it to this skate park. And they are right in the middle of this kaiju attack. And, in issue 1 and 2, you thought they were going to literally like skate by. But that is not going to be the case now. And more kaiju are showing up, and the government is sending out their attacks to it too. And these kids are right in the center of it. And I still stand by, if I don't get somebody skating down Godzilla's tail by the end of this series, I'm going to be real disappointed. But we're getting closer. We're getting real close. But again, if you're fans of the Godzilla stories, and if you're picking up grommets, this is like your intersection of the two stories. So you're going to want to grab this and add it to the list. Grendel, Devil's Crucible, Defiance, issue 3 from Dark Horse. If you are a Grendel fan, add this to your list, because you're going to want to make sure you're not missing the newest Grendel story. If you're not a Grendel fan and you've never read Grendel before, I honestly feel like, as somebody who hasn't read a lot of Grendel, I'm not very lost. And so this is definitely, there's like this weird monster thing that I don't know if Facebook's going to call it on, so I'm going to not show that page. But this is, I don't feel entirely lost, because they are giving you so much of Matt Wagner's giving you so much of the backstory of Grendel, like in bits and pieces as you need it. But essentially this is about our Grendel, who they now call Grendel Prime, because it's been like 300 years since the events of the last Grendel story took place, essentially. And he has come back to this world and figured out that these like vampire creatures have taken over, and the world is a big giant mess. And he's like, okay, I've got to deal with this. This is what I do. I just got to like handle it. But Grendels are outlawed now, and so he gets saved from that situation by some people who have been kind of keeping it going, and finds out that there's like a secret society living underground, which seems like it would be a bad idea in a vampire world, but it totally works out. And they have been keeping the principles of the Grendel cause alive and kind of fighting. And so they have been leading him to their sanctuary. And we finally get to see that in this issue and just get to learn what exactly it is that everybody's been doing. And honestly, we finally get to see these vampire leaders and this like royalty of vampires who are absolutely terrible in the way they're kind of exploiting humanity. And I think that since we only have one issue left, we're going to get to see all of that come to a head and destruction and mayhem and probably a resolution by the end of the next issue. The Blood Brothers' Mother, from issue 2 from Distillery. This is your Distillery oversized IMAX experience for the week. This is your old Western story that follows 3 brothers who, in the first issue, they have, like an outlaw band come to their house and kind of destroy their dad and kidnap their mom. And they're like, we're going to go after them. We're going to save our mom. We're going to kill those people who took our parents from us. And they have no idea how to do that. They're very young. They're like, the oldest one is like maybe 9-10 years old is what it looks like. They've got 1 horse and they've got 1 gun, and they're like, we're going to do this. They meet a kid who's slightly older than them on the road. They think that he's going to be there and support them because he's a kid like them. Guess what? That's not necessarily how that plays out. They have to keep going. They keep traveling. They find, some people who might be able to give them the help that they need. They learn a lot of life lessons really fast. And we learn a lot of stuff about Mom. And how Mom ended up in this situation isn't as clean cut and dry as we thought after issue 1. And while we think we might be the only ones that know it, we start to learn that maybe some of the boys have more knowledge of what's going on than they thought they did. And so they kind of start putting it together too. But this is going to be, most of the Distillery issues have been 3 issues. And so we've got 1 issue where these boys are going to come face to face with some very big choices and some very big adventures that they have to have. So far, it has not been going well for the boys. And I kind of want to see, who grows up and who kind of retreats as this continues to play out, because they've got a lot to handle and a lot on their plates right now. And I love that each of them was like kind of put in the choice where they were all kind of like given to different people for adoption purposes, and they all kind of were like, we're not taking that, we're staying together, we're gonna go save Mom. So it's kind of cute and endearing, like little kids trying to go save their mom in the Old West, but it's also like these poor kids have no idea what they're doing. Archer and Armstrong, issue 2 from Valiant Alien Books, and of course our Road to Resurgence. This is, it's so fun for me, again, to get to see all of these Valiant characters that I've never really taken the time to read all of their stories. And Archer and Armstrong is one of those where I've read a little bit of their stuff before, but I really never actually got to know the characters. And so I like getting to read this story because you get to kind of see what their powers are and their relationships to each other. And they have been trying to stop some really bad things going down. And the way that they've had to do it is they ended up needing to get the bullets from like these major assassination attempts or happenings and kind of use them in this like magical ritual that they need to do. And so they go and they have to get them from this like secret society of women who are totally and completely awesome, but also completely and totally unloyal to even each other. And so they're now, Archer and Armstrong are kind of fighting against them, and they're fighting against each other. And so it's like Archer and Armstrong are kind of like, we just kind of have to play the field right and hope for the best in order to get this. And you kind of see that again, like they're so opposites in that, one is like your stoic, by the rules kind of person, and the other is very much the I am he who must not be named. I'm the guy who like doesn't doesn't ever play by the rules and kind of messes everything up. And it's just so interesting to see how their character dynamic works together. And it's easy to see because of that how they've been such a long running like duo. That's a giant spoiler. So everything back there is a giant spoiler. But if you're just looking for a super quick adventure and knowledge into them, this is like this issue and the first one are all of this little mini Archer and Armstrong that leads up to the Road to Resurgence. So everything that happens like post this is going to be all connected to that big Valiant event. And so you kind of just got a little bit here and there to let you know about the characters. And I think it was a great way to do it because you didn't just get like an exposition drop on each story. You kind of got like a little adventure that they could work it through. First Americans, issue 2 from Critical Entertainment. This is an absolutely beautiful silent comic series that has just been incredible. Santiago and I were talking about it yesterday, and he was like, I cannot wait to look at this book. Because he was like, I can't wait to read it, but my eyes are going to just be staring at beautiful art and be excited about this story that is told through it. But basically, this is the story of the Paleo-Indian tribes that made their way from Siberia to North America. And so in issue 1, we kind of see them following the last of the mammoths that they need to hunt down in order to have food because they're on the brink of starvation. And so we see them kind of following the mammoths and never ever able to capture them. In this book, they make their way into Canada finally, and they are still trying to find food in some way. They can't find the mammoths, so they're looking for other beasts and things to fight and eat, and they end up taking in one wolf, but also hunting down another pack of wolves and trying to just get that food source for themselves and survive. And it's such an amazing way to see that story and kind of piece it together and just kind of envision what it would look like and experience it through that beautiful like unspoken story. So if you didn't check it out yet, you could even just grab issue 2 and kind of see that snippet of time, and it's such a cool thing. Flash Gordon issue 2 from Mad Cave. Jeremy Adams, who's writing this comic, last year at New York Comic Con was talking about it and was like, this is not going to be a origin story for Flash Gordon. And I thought because of that, like, I would never know what was going on. But in an ironic like way, I almost feel like it's easier to understand than if they had done an origin story. Because so many times when people redo origin stories, they expect you to kind of have like a basic understanding and they like breeze through it. This has been such a cool way to just jump in and get an adventure and learn a little bit about Flash as it goes. And so in the issue 1 of this, we found Flash like tied up at the very beginning, and he's on some planet where he doesn't know where he is and what's going on, but he knows that Dale, who's the love of his life, is in trouble and he needs to save her. And so he breaks out of that, only to find out that after all of that work and all the escape that he tries to do, he is in a place where essentially it's like gladiatorial, and he is kind of going to have to fight his way out of this experience. And the one person who he can ally with is the one person who's been his greatest enemy the entire time. And he's like, oh my gosh, okay, well, I don't trust you, but if you can get us out, then I guess I have to do what you say. Hijinks, backstabbing, lots of super heroics, and more to come for sure from Flash Gordon. We are building a massive universe of Flash Gordon at Mad Cave right now. This is just one. We're going to actually talk about a second Flash Gordon book today, and there is, at the back of your Flash Gordon books, there is a there is also a checklist there that tells you about Flash Gordon Quarterly, Defenders of the Earth, and Paper Cuts is also going to have a kids Flash Gordon series that you can jump into. So if you want to share, your pulp superhero style stories with young kids, there's actually going to be a Flash Gordon for them as well. So super cool.
I'm here for the Sunday strip Flash Gordon.
Yes, the collection of the Sunday strips.
Is that coming out?
That is the Flash Gordon strips. The first one's already out, so we can order that, and then the second one comes out next month. So yeah, we'll have to order those for sure. Cruel Universe, issue 2 from Oni Press and the EC Comics. This is our EC Comics sci-fi coming out. And so this is bringing us some more of our EC stories, and we are going to get 4 in this one. The first one is from Stephanie Phillips, and it is all about, cruelty-free farming and making sure that all of your food comes from places that are all natural and completely and totally safe for you. And since these are anthology stories, I'm only going to show you the smallest bit of them and kind of give you just teasers. The second one is only 2 pages long, so I'm not going to show you any of that, but it's very Frankensteinian. And then there is a story in the middle that is all about a guy who works at a medical place, and he realizes he has cancer, and they give him an opportunity to have what is the word I'm looking for? Experimental surgery. And they say they're able to help him cure his cancer, and that there may be some side effects. And of course, he has to deal with those side effects and what they may be, and everything that comes with that if he chooses to take this surgery on. And we get to see, of course, how that plays out for everyone involved in that situation. And then the last story is called Ray Gun, and it is all about a cowboy who gets hurt while he's bull riding one day, and now he's just kind of living, trying to find a new purpose in life. And one day he sees some aliens crash, or does he? He thinks he does. He thinks he has some experiences with that. And then some people try to tell him maybe that wasn't what happened. This is definitely for sci-fi fans. It's easy sci-fi, so it's always got that same little warning to your life with every story, and just like those little twists and turns. My favorite thing that you may not know is we've got 2 more EC anthologies coming for you this December, I believe is what it says. Yeah. We've got suspense and we've got sorcery. So you're going to get your suspense and your fantasy anthologies coming your way soon. That's very exciting, Oni Press. And I, once again, will just remind you, romance. Where's my romance anthology? Just saying. Just throwing that out there. Going to keep throwing it out there until it happens. Because we need that. All right, we've got Arkham Horror issue 2 from Dark Horse. This is about a woman whose sister goes missing, and so she of course goes to a detective and is like, I need your help to find my sister. She's lost. I want to find her. Let me know if you can help with that. And the detective and her go on to the investigation in the first issue. And she's like, I think that she was taken by this woman who is high society, like this girl our age, who I think is involved with some seedy, cult style magic practices. And he's like, that's probably not the case. Well, it's probably the case. And so some real creepy, weird stuff happens at the end of the first issue. And so we pick up right at that same spot at the beginning of this issue. And they're like, we have discovered a little bit of information, but the only way now is to kind of infiltrate that group of rich people and that society that they're in. And so they must travel to where these people are and go kind of break into their party and see what exactly is going on. And they make some discoveries very quickly that lead them into more danger. This book is done by now very consistently working together team of Cullen Bunn and Andrea Moody. And so if you're fans of oh my gosh, there's so many things that they've done. Legacy of Violence, did you say Parasomnia? Yeah, Parasomnia. They've just, Charred Remains. Did Colin write Charred Remains? I know Andrea worked on it, but I couldn't remember if he did. Possibly. So right. But, seriously, this team is really starting to just kind of, become a horror consistent team for different publishers. And so definitely give it a try. And honestly, that's been one that so many people who don't even normally pick up indie books have been grabbing this one, and it's been a fast mover. So definitely if you're into just a nice creepy horror detective story, it's going to be one you might want to pick up. All right, we've got Slaughter Otter issue 1 from Keenspot. This is essentially, how we have Spider-Ham and Doctor Strange and Captain America and all of those. This is essentially what it would be like if you turned Deadpool into an otter. that I don't think that works as a name, like an animal for Deadpool to be, but at the same time, it totally does. And now I just want this variant of Deadpool to exist. But this is all about Slaughter Otter, who is fighting against leeches, and not like the traditional like animal leeches, but a secret society of like bad guys that are like is, you know, the acronym is leech. And so he is coming in hot, trying to take out a local facility of the leech organization, and it is literally just it's just watching Deadpool fight somebody. He's got all of the humor, all of the like quick wit, jokes, all of the weapons, all the everything, and all of the same you didn't quite figure out how to do the job before you started it problems. So if you're just looking for a laugh, this one's definitely it. Not for children, just like Deadpool. So I know that he's cute and adorable and an otter, but that doesn't make it for kids. He's like Deadpool, just know he's an adult.
Slaughter.
It has slaughter in the title. You should know that it's not, but people sometimes don't know. They're like, I gotta check it. I gotta make sure. We have Sabrina the Teenage Witch Annual Spectacular. This says one shot. Not really sure how, because the news story in it also says to be continued and does not have an ending. So, but this is from our Archie comics. Our first story shows Sabrina realizing that there is some weird magic afoot, and so she finds out that they're that, you know, her ultimate bad guys that she's always fighting, Amber Nightstone and the other witches, are actually raising from the other side a very bad sorceress that is going to make some really bad problems come their way. Again, we're not going to see how that plays out in this one, so hopefully we get some follow-up. And then, as always, we get a bunch of backstories of just random comic strips coming back to us. We've got, this one is all about, one of Sabrina's aunts having a belief that she's seeing flying saucers. And then we see the witches moving into a new house that the Spellmans have bought, and the scam that the real estate agent is running is that he has people try to make the house appear haunted so that they can just keep quick flipping the house and making all the money off of it. But what they don't know is that the Spellmans love haunted houses, and they just take it even further with some of their own friends and spooks and ghosties and ghouls and stuff. And then there is another one where Harvey tries to help Sabrina clean out the attic in order to have a yard sale, but it starts snowing, and Harvey is determined to help Sabrina get rid of all of the stuff and make some money in the process, and it doesn't ever, nothing ever goes Harvey's way. And then the last one is Sabrina is hanging out with Ethel, and she's telling her that Harvey is the most loyal, and then Ethel is like, well, why is he out with another girl? So Sabrina is like, oh my gosh, well, to play this way. And so she jinxes Archie to have a crush on her. And of course, hijinks ensue anytime Archie's around. And it just becomes a giant mess of Riverdale fun. And so it's just, everybody needs a Sabrina comic every once in a while to make their day better. The return of Lady Mechanica comes at you this week with The Devil in the Lake, issue 1 from Image Comics. I had so many people asking me when this was coming out, and it is here. It's actually just like a really great story. This is all about Lady Mechanica, who is, she's her own kind of like haunted like hero. She's always fighting against demons and everything in this very steampunk world, monster hunter, I guess you could say. And she is brought in by the Empress of Russia to kind of go after this disappearance. Like there's all this family that has been marked as like that they disappeared. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how I was trying to say that. And she wants to send them out, like send Lady Mechanica out to figure out if there is actually a monster in this lake, or if there's something else afoot, or if like these people are just fine and they're lost out there. And so she sends her with a team of people, some guards, and this little sled guy that kind of looks like he belongs in Narnia. And just all of this, like her own interpreter and things. And she is out there trying to figure out what is going on in this woods. And everything is pointing to some dark, creepy monsters and some very big issues going to come our way. We're going to get a very big adventure out of Lady Mechanica in this one. And there's all kinds of really pretty animals that you kind of forget about being up in like the Siberian, like, you know, winters and stuff. And so it's really cool to see. But yeah, if you've never read it before, you can jump in here. Most of her stories are kind of like Hellboy, where you can just kind of jump into them and there's going to be some lore from the world, but it's going to be kind of self-explanatory. So this is the 9th Lady Mechanica story ever, I believe, is what it says. Yeah. But again, you can jump in on just this one if you want to give it a shot and see if it's for you. Flash Gordon Quarterly #1 from Mad Cave, as I just mentioned. This was actually a lot of fun because it gives us Flash Gordon in different ways. So instead of necessarily just his regular stories, we're kind of getting to see different things. The first story is actually about the fall of King Volton. I don't know who King Volton is. If you are a huge Flash Gordon fan and that name means something to you, please let me know, because I don't know that character. But him and his son are flying with the Hawkmen, and they are knocked down by some bad guys. And they have to come to terms with the fact that, like, dad needs to stop seeing his son as a little kid, and son needs to stop with the little kid attitude of, I can do anything and you can't tell me what to do kind of thing. And learn to work together if they're actually going to get out of this mess and stop the bad guys. And then we get another story that is actually an Old West style story where Flash Gordon is the sheriff of a town, and him and Dale is his deputy, and there is the cowboy Ming that comes to fight them. And he has to stand up and, you know, have his traditional, like, your high noon moment to try to save the people. So it's kind of cool to see Old West Flash Gordon. And then the last story in this one is actually a crime noir version of Flash Gordon, and he is a detective, and he is actually trying to solve this case. And honestly, I absolutely love the way they wrote it. They did such a good job with the classic pulp crime noir storytelling. It's definitely something that I actually wish we could see almost a series of just that. Like, I don't necessarily need to be Flash Gordon. Like, you could almost put anybody in the story. But it's such a great little one-off noir story for a hero, and I was like, this is my new favorite Flash Gordon, and then I realized it was kind of just Dick Tracy. But I love it either way. I'm gonna take another drink really fast. My nose is itching, sorry. All right, we've got a one-shot. No, not a one-shot. Sorry. It's almost, I keep wanting to say that because it has like a the end, but it's not the end kind of moment. We have Prairie Gods #1, and this is called Race the Devil from Mad Cave. And I keep saying one-shot because it's kind of going to be like an anthology, like, of moments with these Prairie Gods and the different, like, races they have to do, but it's not a one-shot. And this follows a guy whose name I forgot. Freddie, I think, is his name. Anyway, he is a race car driver, and we see him win this great experience of race car times, you know, drag racing, and then it flashes to him as an older person, and he's now bought the racetrack that nobody uses, and is spending his time there, and he's always, like, fixing up his car. And we find out that he's fixing it all up because he has got the race. He's going to be racing against an unstoppable force, which is essentially the devil. This is like the devil went down to Georgia, but instead of trying to play the fiddle, he is going to race cars against this guy. And he's like, I can't lose. My car has never lost. I'm going to race this devil. And so he goes out and he's completing this race. And we do actually get to see, like, the mysterious car that may belong to the devil come into this. And we see that race happen. And again, it kind of says the end at the end, but then it also is like, in issue 2, you'll see this happen. And so I think it's going to be different points, kind of almost Layla Starr-esque, where it's like different points in the life of this story, but I'm not really sure how it's going to play out. So I'm really excited to see what happens in issue 2, because this could have been a complete story, but there's so much more, and I can't wait to see what we get from this, because I love this gruff, surly character and his just like desire to hold on to that thing that he loves, and yet his willingness to like sacrifice so much to do it. Autumn Kingdom, issue 1 from Oni Press. I will say, this is probably the book that like most surprised me this week with how much I enjoyed it. It's gonna be so good as the story unfolds, but I was very not sure what I was getting myself into when I first started it, because it opens up with this like extremely high fantasy story of these two like sorceress sisters who are at odds with each other and fighting, and just like the battle that they're having, only to then find out that that is a little girl who is reading a book. Her dad is a like famous author. He's been writing these crazy adventure stories, and this is his newest one, and she's like his first beta reader all the time. And so she's like reading it in the car as they go off on a vacation. And then it kind of becomes like all of those terrible movies where somebody rents an Airbnb or something in the middle of the woods, and they're like, oh, we rented this great place. Isn't this a wonderful place to stay for the next 8 weeks? It's completely secluded. Nothing bad could happen out here, right? And you're like, great. Everything bad is going to happen. I think Torma from Oni Press said this is a book to remind you to never go outside. And I feel that way after reading it. But this is crazy, because the kids are, they find this little place that has all these statues of like trolls and monsters, and they're looking it up and they're so excited about it. And their mom's like, you don't need to look that up. You don't need to pay attention to trolls. They're just things your dad makes up. And then one night the kids are reading the story in bed, and loud noises happen, and we're reminded that it's never as fictional as you want to believe it is, and maybe you really shouldn't go out in the woods, and bad things can happen, and maybe these stories aren't going to be so fake after all, and we're going to get to see some really big adventure. I'm really excited because it is also a story at the end of the day of two sisters, and I love stories that have like two sisters because I love my sister. And I was always the one that was like way older than her and having to like tell her the stories, and then like always dealing with all the monsters under the bed kind of situation. So I know I'm going to just probably cry a lot in this book. But it's going to be so good. Speaking of books that will make you cry probably by the time they're over, Jeff Lemire's got a new book out. So let's all just prepare the tissues, because he never ends a story without you wanting to cry. But we've got Minor Arcana, issue 1 from Jeff Lemire and Boom Studios. And this is definitely already gearing up to be something that's going to rip your heart out. This is about a girl who has to come home to her hometown that she has no desire to return to take care of a mother that she has no desire to speak to. And she gets home and she's like, everything in this town is like kind of awful. And she immediately starts treating everybody really bad. She's kind of terrible to everybody that she interacts with at first, because she's so angry about having to be there. And then we get to see her go home, and we find out, her mom is dying and she needs somebody to take care of her. But of course she's that mom that won't say that and is kind of just a big jerk about it at the same time. But mom is the town psychic. And as the town psychic, the daughter is like, she is full of it. None of this is real. She's always just made stuff up. Like, I can't handle my mom and her fake, like, magic that she does. Well, mom's sick and she can't handle her customers. And so she's like, you're going to have to take over running the shop. You're going to have to be the psychic. And the daughter's like, I don't believe in any of that. And none of the stuff that you do is real anyway. Like, can't they just find somebody else? And we get to see the daughter's first experience with that in this issue. We get to see kind of a feeling of the backstory of a grandfather or someone who was very important in the young girl's life, who was kind of the last person she really felt like she had a connection point to, and the last person that seemed to really matter to her, and kind of maybe what tied her to this place, and the loss of that kind of pushed her out of it. And maybe that's what caused this rift between her and her mom. It's Jeff Lemire, so we're obviously going to see some really big family ties and some big family moments that show you where this heartache and anger comes from. We are also going to see that, according to the solicit, that maybe this isn't as fake as she thought it was, and there's going to be something more that comes your way. So we're going to figure out what it is. One of the things that's really cool is this Erica Slaughter variant, because this 5-year anniversary of Something That's Killing the Children, so they're doing all of that. There's also tarot card variants that Jeff Lemire is making, which are really cool. But I also just have to get a shout out, because in conjunction with this series, Megan Hutchison is doing tarot readings for Boom, that are showing up on both the Boom Studio Instagram and Megan's, which is at Black M. Is it _ art, or is it just Black M art?
It's Black M art.
At Black M art, like EM for the M. But she is doing tarot readings. So if you ever wanted to like learn about tarot and kind of have that experience, like Meg's kind of doing that in conjunction with this to kind of fill out what this story is kind of speaking to and stuff. So. All right, I got 2 picks of the week for you. One is Duck and Cover issue 1 from Dark Horse, and the Comixology originals that Scott Snyder puts out, which means this has actually been a digital comic before, but now you get it in written print form. And what's cool about that is that every issue is actually 2 issues because of that. And in this story, we find out. We go back to that concept that in the 1950s, we told everybody that if there was ever a bombing on America, that you could just hide under your desk and you would be completely and totally fine. And I know that there's people up into like the 80s and 90s who were still being told to do that under their desk, which is crazy, that we thought that would work. And so this is about a bunch of kids who are around in that time frame and kind of just dealing with their day-to-day lives at the beginning. We have our main character who is determined to get out of the town. He wants to be a filmmaker, and he is dealing with being one of the only like kids of color in his community, and kind of just getting attacked by so many of the other kids, the high school football bully and things like that. And they all end up in a fight one night at the drive-in, and they're kind of dealing with, like, you're a bully, you're terrible, like, you're being mean to all of our friends, I'm tired of it, I'm not going to stand down. Plus, we've also got, like, the car guys who are like, oh, we're going to, we like to come and disrupt the drive-in. They all end up getting caught, and of course, it's the 50s, like, time period, so they only get detention. And he shows up, our main character shows up to the school, and the bomb sirens go off and they hide under the desk, only to have it actually be a real thing. And suddenly there's like all these like War of the Worlds style like situation robots coming at them, and they're like, what is going on? And it turns out like maybe the whole time with the school story and everything, like hiding under the desk, maybe that was all like a part of the secret plan the whole time. And it's crazy. It's Scott Snyder, so there's so much good like human drama. Like they even call this one the melodrama, because they're all trying to like build them out to look like the different types of movies that would have been playing at the drive-in. But you get so much of the human emotion, you get so much of the horror, you get so much of that sci-fi element coming in, and like what it actually is. There's so much to it. I'm not going to give you even more than that, but I am going to say that you definitely should pick this one up if you're a Scott Snyder fan, because once again, it's just an all-around great story, and it's crazy wild where this is going to go for sure, and I can't wait. And then lastly, Animal Pound ended this week at issue 5 from Boom Studios and Tom King, and what an incredible series this is. I cannot wait for this to be collected in a trade paperback so I can buy so many copies for classrooms to use this in conjunction with Animal Farm, to compare like modern American government to what we learn about in Animal Farm with that totalitarianism, because that's what this is. If you haven't read this is cats and dogs and bunnies in a pound realizing that they should have more power than the people who are keeping them locked in cages. And so they start a rebellion, and then they build out a democracy with an electoral college and all the same things that we see on our plates every day in America. And we see how elections happen, and we see how elections stop happening, and we see how things go wrong and things go right, and how people get their voices get silenced. We see how people try to stand up. We see so many different things in that. And in this issue, we kind of see how we can put ourselves back into the same spot that we started in by not doing the things we needed to do along the way. What happens when we just stop trying? Where does that lead us to, and what happens in the end? It's so good. It's so well done. It is really, honestly and truthfully, I don't spoil any of that. It's really, honestly and truthfully, one of the best things Tom King has ever written, like, actually, like, literarily wise. Tom's always a fantastic writer, but this one is such a work of literature that just needs to be studied in educational conversations. It needs to be talked about all the time. And it just needs to be, like, mandatory reading every, like, October for, like, every 4 years. Well, every year, really, because there's a, you know, there's elections all the time, but every election season, Animal Pound should be a required reading for the world at large. So anyway, that is a fantastic read. Please grab it. And if you didn't grab it yet, I'm sure it's going to be in trade soon, and you can just collect the whole thing. It's going to be great. There are a lot of other books in stock, so I'm going to fly through those really fast. Scarlet Witch hit issue 4 of the newest series, which is like, there was Scarlet Witch, and then Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and now there's Scarlet Witch again, and we're on issue 4 of them. Just put these right here. Red Sonja, the regular title, is at issue 13 for this volume, which I think is like 4, 8, I don't know. Penguin hit issue 12 as part of your Dawn of DC. Marvel Zombies are back again. Don't miss that if you are a Marvel Zombies fan. Justice Society of America issue 11. This is Jeff Johns is wrapping this up. He is not going to continue into the like bigger universe that he was going to build, so this is going to be coming to an end soon. Get Fury issue 5. I've heard that is the most violent Marvel book right now, actually. What if Donald Duck became Thor? This is a part of our what if like Disney characters in general, but specifically what if Donald Duck did some things. Conan, Battle of the Blackstone, issue 1. There is going to be an event of this, and this is your read order and your important issues to have, and I'm going to make sure that I'm ordering all of those for everybody that gets that. Army of Darkness, issue 11, or Army of Darkness Forever, I should say, issue 11. Exceptional X-Men launched this week. Back to having Emma running a team of X-Men, as I know so many X-Men fans love to see. Trinity Special. This is a World's Finest. Trinity is the daughter of Wonder Woman, also a Tom King story. And you are going to want to grab that if you are following that kind of saga that is coming up. Immortal Thor, issue 15. Venom War, issue 2. And Kid Venom. There was a lot of Venom this week. I brought 2 of them because there's like 17 Venoms going on right now. I believe there is a checklist maybe somewhere hopefully for you for your Venom War, but there is a lot of there's a lot of Venom War to go, and this is just a couple of the issues that are coming up soon, so make sure you're grabbing that. Star Wars High Republic Adventures had Crash and Burn, and then also had Echoes of Fear, and these are both supposed to kind of go with the Acolyte story that's happening as well. Spider-Boy hit issue 11. Miles Morales hit issue 24. I really like this Spawn cover for issue 356. I like the color palette on it. It's really pretty. Gunslinger Spawn hit 35. Moon Knight got his annual this week. Speaking of cool covers, we have been getting those really cool variants that are the Nicholas Scott, like, all of the character versions over the years, and I love this one for Black Canary with all the different Black Canary images. She's been doing a lot of those that are really cool. We've got Absolute Power Task Force 7, and this is issue 4, and that is all leading towards our all-in situation with the Absolute Power. We've got Boy Wonder, which is from Junie Baugh, which, if you don't know, Junie Baugh has like some really fun, cool art and always tells really great stories. So if you haven't been reading this is actually like the first Damian Wayne story in a really long time that I've been like, I kind of want to read the whole thing because I just love Junie Baugh. Daredevil issue 13. Hulk also had his annual. I'm going to skip that really fast. We've got some trade paperbacks in stock. This is Harley Quinn and the Gotham Sirens. This is a Paul Dini and Gilliam March story. Holy cow, what a great powerhouse team. This is so cool. And this collects Gotham City Sirens issues 1 through 13. So if you haven't ever read that Gotham City Sirens run, this is your chance to do it. And it's in one of the DC compacts, which means that you can get this for $10. 13 issues for $10. Holy crap. They also put out a Joker, which is the Brian Azzarello, Lee Bermejo Joker story. If you didn't get that, you can also get that in the compact, which is, again, $10. Desperate Pleasures, new graphic novel from Uncivilized Books. We've got From the Static from Band of Bards, which just looks super creepy, and I can't wait to read that. I'm so excited about that. Deceased, the final volume, War of the Undead Gods, came out, and this is all 8 issues of that. So if you were a Deceased fan and you are only reading it in trade, now's the time. Void Rivals is out for volume 2. This is issues 7 through 12. So again, if you're a trade collector, this is your chance to catch up on your Energon universe. We've got coming up, we've got the Agatha TV show. So we've got a Darkhold. This is the saga of the Book of Sins, and it is collecting Marvel Spotlight from 1971, number 4. Werewolf by Night, number 1 and 3, Avengers 185 through 187, Doctor Strange 59 through 62 from 1974, and material from Dracula Lives, issue 6. So this is going to kind of give you all of the big moments of the Darkhold that you're going to need to know for that Agatha show. And then we also have an actual collection of Agatha stories. This is the Saga of the Salem Witch, which collects Fantastic Four 94, 185 through 186, 222 and 223, and then Avengers 128 and Midnight Suns 1 through 5. We also got in the Marvelverse for Scarlet Witch, which I forgot to bring. And then Feral Volume 1 is also out this week. So if you love Stray Dogs and you haven't read Feral yet, this is essentially like The Walking Dead, but with cats. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's so good. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you all get to read it. For those of you who don't do single issues and wait for trades, this is just such a fun story. It's adorable and cute and deadly all at the same time. It's definitely something you have to read. And again, if you're a Stray Dogs fan, you know this is the exact same creative team, so you're going to want to grab it. And then lastly, I should have done the Wanda books before this one, but lastly, we have What If novel of What If Wanda Maximoff and Peter Parker were siblings, and came out this week, and I just had to bring it to tell you that this is the best. This is like my favorite thing that I read this week. It's so good. It is essentially that Wanda is actually found by Marion Ben Parker, and she is, or not Marion Ben is Uncle Ben, but she's found, Mary and Richard find her, and they bring her home and adopt her, and so she grows up as Peter's sister, because she's only like 9 months younger than Peter Parker in this story, and they grow up living together, and she still becomes the Scarlet Witch, he still becomes Spider-Man, Uncle Ben still dies, all of that. We actually get to see like the Gwen Stacy story play out with Wanda there. It's so good. I laughed, I cried. It's my favorite book right now. I'm obsessed with it. Please get a copy and talk to me about it. I'm happy to order all of the copies for everybody who wants one, because it's so good. It's so good. I love it so much. I will literally not talk about anything else. I could do a whole show on just this book and how obsessed with it I am right now. It has everything I needed in life in that book. So, read it, because it's the best. And speaking of things you need to read, don't forget book club is this Thursday, at 7 p.m. We are reading Adventure Man #1. It's going to cost you $1 to get the issue, so you can show up on Wednesday, get a copy, come back on Thursday, and take part in book club, or you can just come to book club even if you don't have it, or if you already have it, you just read the one you have. No purchase necessary to come to book club, just willingness to talk about books and have a good time. That's Thursday at 7. Then, of course, like I said, we have story time on Saturday with Santiago at 3 for all the little ones. Don't forget to check our events calendar on Instagram and Facebook for all the rest of the events happening this month at Bat City. And as always, this Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. So if we don't see you for anything else, hopefully we'll see you this week in the shop or wherever your local comic shop is. Make sure you stop by and pick up all the latest and greatest in indie and small press releases. Until we see you next weekend, happy reading, everyone.